Welcome to this episode of the Manifesting Me show. I am hoping I'm not too echoey. I am coming to you today from the business center at the building where my brother lives as we're visiting him today. So I am hoping it doesn't come across too echoey. So I will try to keep it a little softer than normal. That might not be so easy, but welcome on in. This is the Manifesting Me show, the weekly show that you can catch live on Wednesdays on Facebook and on Instagram. And then it becomes a podcast episode on Spotify and all of your favorite podcasting platforms, as well as on YouTube. So today I'm actually sharing a lesson, an experience, a personal story of mine that I recently, wrapped up, came to the end. So I'm on the other side of the story. And if you are on my email list, you got an email from me that with the subject line that says, "I'm out of jail." It was not in actual jail. I was in, or my software, my program, whatever, was in email jail. I could not send emails from the email platform that I use, which is Aweber, to send out my emails. And you may or may not have noticed, because I know our inboxes are very very full and very busy. But that email that I sent out to my list yesterday was the first email I had sent out to my list since the beginning of the year, possibly even the end of December. And it's like, that's unheard of. First of all, for me, I was really regular about sending a weekly newsletter. And also, that's just probably not the best practice for staying in touch with your people. And so I was in email jail. And so I sent out that story saying, I'm out of jail, I'm able to send emails. And so I thought I would share that experience with you and the lessons that I learned, right? The lessons that I learned, because everything provides something, some type of information, an insight, lesson, skill, whatever the case is. And I can definitely see, I'm aware of the lessons that this experience provided me, or that taught me, and realizations that I've had as well. So I will share that with you. And like I said in my email yesterday, and before I head down into the story, if you're not on my email list, at the end of this episode, and also wherever you can find, around the description or the caption, wherever you're listening to or watching this, there will be a link or a way for you to get on my email list if you're not, because that really is the best way to make sure you get stuff. Even if you don't see it right away, you can look for it, especially now that I'm out of jail. But I did say in that email I sent out yesterday that being in email jail was my own fault. It was my own fault. There is nothing I can say other than that to dance around. I shared when I got out of jail on my stories, and how it was a win, how I stuck with it and got through that process. And it's true. I did get to that, and it is a win that I stuck with it. But it was my fault. It was my own doing, or actually not doing, something that ended me in jail. And no one did anything to me. I was just unable to send emails because of a tech requirement that I knew was coming. Like I knew this was coming. It was the beginning. I think February was when it all went into effect, and I got plenty of notices. And there was, a banner on my email site letting me know that it had to be into effect. And the thing was, I don't feel very confident when it comes to, I guess, the higher end tech things, like is what I would say, like doing code and doing things on the back end on a website. That's what this was. And so I'm fine with making pages and making posts and things and using technology. But when it comes to I guess, I don't know, I just think of it as higher level tech, like coding and doing all the stuff to make things work properly. And so that things communicate, different pieces of technology communicate with each other. That is not my strong suit. I feel like I'm like creative type. Right? I want to make things. I want to use things. I don't want to do the tech. I don't know. There's got to be a better way of saying that, but it's not coming to me in this moment. So I knew that this was coming, and I put it off because I was thinking it was too hard. It's too hard for me to do this. I don't want to figure it out, and I intentionally backed off of doing things. I was like in this energetic hibernation, and it was winter season, and I talked about that as well in the email I sent out. I let go. I started evaluating things like, what do I want to keep doing in 2024 moving forward, and what do I not? And email was actually one of the first things that I dropped off in the aspect of sending out my weekly newsletter. And the reason that I did that was because it felt very forced. And that was really my objective, my intention in doing is like, what do I want to keep doing? What do I feel? What feels forced? What feels not fun? Like it's just a chore. And sending the weekly newsletter felt that way. It took me so long to get done every week. Compiling all the components, identifying what needed to go in there, making sure I had, and I even tried to whittle it down to less components, and it wasn't fun. It wasn't something that I looked forward to. So knowing that this requirement of verifying our domain with our email provider, that's what this process was. I knew it was going to go into effect, and I looked at the step-by-step instructions, like the email provider, their web page or blog or something had the page. They linked you to it, how to do it step by step. And when I initially looked at it, sometime around January, I was in the mindset. I had that thinking, oh, this is too hard. I can't do this. This is not my thing. And I also had this, thought, fear, belief that if I tried to do it, I was going to mess up my website, or messing up my website, such as it is, was one of those things like, oh, I can't do this because I might mess up my website. And so I did also come February, and I can no longer send emails out. Now that I know what I want to send out, how I want to send out emails and communicate with you guys and what I want to share, come February, I couldn't do it. So I was still in that mindset that I can't do it myself. It's too hard. I don't understand the step-by-step, or I don't want to mess it up. So I called tech support. For my web hosting, and told them what I needed. And they're familiar. They knew what I was talking about. And so I was given the code that needed to go onto my page, and I provided it to the young lady, and she said, okay, it's in there. It'll take 24 to 48 hours to kind of set or start, and you should be good. So I took her at her word, because I'm not the tech person. She is. And the 24 to 48 hours passed. I even waited over the weekend, and it didn't work. It didn't work. And I was like, oh man. And I was like, but she did it. Like, it's like that, she did it. Why isn't it working? So then I called my email provider, their tech support, and said, they said this was done. Can you tell me why not? And she said, well, it just doesn't have all the requirements. If they said that it was put in there, have them send you a screenshot so that we can see where something is, what's missing or what's misaligned. So I was like, okay, they can't do anything about that. It's not from the email provider's end. And so I called the web hosting place again and talked to a different person and explained that, hey, I had this done and it's not working. And he says, oh, okay, let me help you out. And mind you, this is not all on the same day. Right. I did tell you that the first time I waited the 48 hours and then the weekend, and then I let time go by. And then I called the email place, the email provider, and then like another few days, it wasn't all on one day. Again, my doing or not doing. And so I called the web hosting place again. And he said, oh, I see where they put it in. But from what you sent me, the code that I sent him again, he's like, there's some characters missing. So I said, oh, well, okay, that made sense to me. It was long code. They missed some characters. Okay, great. So I sent it. He's like, okay, here it's in there. And since you had it done before, I will see if I can speed it up. I have a tool that will help it take effect, by the end of business, as opposed to having to wait the full 24 hours. And so I said, awesome. Thank you. Again, just great. Let them do it for me. And off we go. I even waited, taking into consideration, maybe the tool that pushed it through sooner didn't work. I gave it the 24 hours again before I tried going back in to send an email. Nothing. It was not going. So I was like, okay, at this point, I had reached that point where I've had enough. I wasn't angry in the sense because they were helping me. I was trying to get things resolved, but I was leaving it in the hands of other people and not really doing my due diligence. This was my issue that I had put off getting my email. And even though there are people that could help, I did not take those proactive steps. So I got into that mindset point where it's like, enough, Patty, enough of letting people of just, blankly expecting other people to do things for you, to get it done for you. And so I stepped into the mindset that I am a figure outer and I can do hard things. I may not enjoy them. I may not do them perfectly. And I may have to do some research, but I am a figure outer. This is how I started my business. Google and YouTube were my open all the time. How do I do this? How do I do that? What do I need? So I stepped into that mindset again, that enough of just handing my stuff over and I can do something. I can figure out. So I went to that step-by-step direction, the page that walked us through how to do the things that I needed to. And I looked at the code. And so I read letter by letter the code. There was the second time the web host person did something, they fixed like part one, but there was a second piece, a second set of code, let's say, and that was there, but either he didn't see it from the first person's try or he himself, the second guy, didn't miss some characters, because I read it character by character and there were 3 characters missing in the middle of this line of code. I'm like, okay. So seeing how I followed it step by step to get there, I tried to edit it. I'm like, I can edit it. I know that, we have to save and all this. So I know I'm not going to mess it up. There's the opportunity for me to see if I can edit it. So I tried editing it, and the page that I was on, it didn't work. the way that I had gotten there. So at that point, once I knew what the exact problem was, that I had educated myself enough to walk myself through the process, I called the web hosting place again. And I said, I need help with editing. And I gave him the specific thing I needed. I need help with editing this line of code because I have found 3 characters that are missing from it. And you know what? With that mindset that I had, like, I am a figure outer, he didn't even offer to do it for me. He said, let me walk you through how you can change it. And so I was on a page that was outdated. He's like, let me get you to another page that's updated and you should be able to edit it, no problem. And so he gave me the steps, but he walked me through the steps. And I was the one actually doing the thing, actually taking the actions of changing the code, putting it in the right place, and saving it. And you know what? As soon as I hit save, the block lifted off of my email provider. I didn't even have to wait till the end of business. It lifted immediately, and I was able to do that. And so in looking back, and getting ready, preparing for this podcast, what I had to laugh at myself for is like the first 2 times I called the web hosting place, I was not in the mindset of walk me through it. I was not in the figure outer mindset. I was in like, let them take care of it for me. They're the ones that know what they're doing. They are the tech experts, the code experts, the web hosting people, and they definitely know much more than I do. But that's the energy I was coming with. Even though it wasn't negative and it wasn't angry, I was still like, oh, let them do it for me. They'll know. I was not taking any ownership or investing in learning what I could do. And so with that, they were very nice and very kind, and they helped me to the best of what they thought, what the process was. But when I called the 3rd time, I didn't even have to ask him to walk me through it. He said, let me walk you through it. I'll show you a different place that you can do it, and it should work much easier. And that's because I was in a different energy. I was in the figure outer mindset. And by taking those steps, walking through the step-by-step instructions, looking at finding what was missing, finding the piece that was missing, and then saying, this is what I need to change specifically. The other parts are working, or are in place just fine. It changed the way that the information, the help, and the support that I was given. I was empowered and educated on how to do something instead of just, okay, well, we'll just do it and that's that. And so having others, well, actually, I'm skipping ahead here in my notes. So that is the mindset of a figure outer. It doesn't mean that being a figure outer, and I'm skipping ahead and that's okay. Being a figure outer does not mean that you or I or that any of us have to actually know the answers or have to actually find, be the ones to, find or get the answers. Being a figure outer, the way that I see it and the way that this played out for me is educating yourself or, looking at the situation, whatever the problem or the thing you're trying to figure it out is, and getting as far as you can. And I'll probably have other instances in the future where I talk about different ways of being a figure outer, but getting to the point where you are as far as you can. You have tried or checked the step-by-step instructions and getting to that point where you're like, okay, I have gotten as far as I can go with my knowledge, with my skill set, with the information that I have available to me. And the next thing is the specific help that I need. So getting as far as you can and identifying the specific help, the specific resource, the specific skill, the specific knowledge that you need to then continue moving forward and then learning it, if as best you can. Or finding the people that can do it for you, but from an educated and also willing to learn space, as opposed to just blankly handing it over. And so the lessons, the specific, that I narrowed down to this, were that your energy and mindset attract what matches that. And I think I included that lesson in this because a lot of times I think, or at least I notice, and I also have talked about it in this way, that negative attracts negative, and a negative mindset doesn't help you in any way, and it attracts that. And it doesn't always have to get to that point of being negative or unhelpful, unhealthy, toxic, whatever case or whatever level. It's the outlook, the energy. Like, my energy was like, let me just have them do it for me. Let me just have them do it for me. And so they did, but they also were not as invested as I was, right? I wasn't educating myself. So they just kind of went through the process that they were familiar with, and I took it at face value. And it took me longer to get this issue resolved than if I had started with that or gotten into that mindset that enough is enough. I am a figure outer, and I can at least do some of this, identify what the exact problem is. So your energy and mindset attract what matches that, what you are putting out. Having others do things for you, just simply do things for you, is not always the answer. Yes, there are services and things that so I know people might say, well, that's what hiring people for is, that's why you hire people for things. And that's absolutely true when it's something that benefits you. In the sense, like, I don't have, like, if you're up leveling, which is a conversation I've had, and up leveling, like, I need time. I'm going to make more time. So I'm going to outsource this, have someone, order my groceries instead of going to buy them myself, or whatever it is, or have food delivered, the food services, or having someone sew my garment instead of learning how to sew. Yes, but like, when it is a specific issue that really is what's the right way of saying that? Like, that speaks to the mindset. And when it's something that relates to something important to us, like our personal development, my business, this is my business. And I was basically just handing it over to someone in that sense of fix this for me. So when it comes to doing the hard things, and when it comes to doing our own development, no other people can't do that for us. So having that discernment, is this something that I can educate myself in? Is this something that I can take a little bit further step and get to a point where then I know who to ask and what to ask to move me forward? And like I said earlier, having a figure outer's mindset does not mean that you have to know or figure out all of the steps yourself. But it does mean doing what you can, getting to the point where you are truly at a stopping point, and then identifying what resource, what skill, what tool, what person can help you move forward from that point. Not just saying, it's too hard, and I can't do it. Because that took me, 3 times as long to get this resolved, by having that attitude at first. So that is the figure outer story with this email, and that I am a figure outer. I reminded myself, and we are all figure outers. We are all capable of taking steps that we feel are hard, or learning something new. There are so many ways that this could be applied. So if you have a story, or if you have an example, or even want some feedback on that, I would love to hear from you. And you could either comment, or if there's a comment section available where you're listening to or watching this, and you can also email me. And I'm bringing this back to email because now that it's working, I can actually reply to you. And the email, if you want to send me your story, send me an example, send me some topics that you would like me to talk about. The email is vision, VISION, @bluemoonmanifestations.com. And also with email, like I said, I had been in this hibernation stage. And so moving forward, and this is also a little bonus, if you will, like a little extra for when you are evaluating things like that as well. So it's this process. This is the process that I went through. And this is just good. I will probably expand on this in the future, but I wanted to include it because it ties into why I stopped sending the newsletter and what it's gonna look like moving forward, being on my email list. So what I did is I asked myself, how do I want to feel about email? Because remember, I said it felt very forced, and it felt like something I'm supposed to do. So I asked myself, how do I want to feel about emails that I send to my, to my people, to my list? My answer was comfortable and at ease, not like it's a chore. And then my question to myself was, how do I do that? How do I feel comfortable and at ease? And what I jotted down was, before writing and sending an email, ask myself, is this something I really want to share? Is this something I really want to share? And what I realized by asking that question is, I looked back at my emails, the emails that I've sent, for, I think I looked at the last year or so. And in reviewing those emails, I saw that the ones that did the best in the sense of people replying to me, opening them, engaging with the email, were the ones that I wrote when I had something genuine to share. Now, sometimes that was within the newsletter, and other times it was just a random or supplemental email that I sent out with a story or with an invitation or, useful information, etc. Those are the ones that did better, because guess what? My energy was much better when I was writing them. It didn't feel like a chore or like it was forced. Then I asked, how can my emailing look different moving forward? And what I came up with is, let go of telling myself that I have to send an email every Monday, and send them when I have something to say, when I have something interesting, funny, or valuable to share about my life, my business, like this, lessons that I learned, and also when I have things to share with you, new products or events or whatever the case is, things that I like, things that I want to communicate with you that I've used or experienced in my life. And so that is what being on my email list is going to look like moving forward. There will not be a regular Monday manifesting message is what the newsletter was called that I was sending on Mondays. I will be sending you emails when I have something of value, when I have something to invite you to, when I have information that is helpful or useful, or a story to tell, right? That can also be a very teaching and informative way of communicating. So if that is something that sounds good to you and you want to get on that email list, somewhere around in the caption or description, there's a link to get on my email list. And by clicking on that link, I'm also going to send you my Manifesting Songs playlist. And music is something that I incorporate into almost all aspects of my life. I talk about it quite frequently here as well. And so you will get my Manifesting Songs playlist, which is a playlist that I put together of songs that help me feel like anything is possible. And so they're upbeat, they're, yes, like I can do anything, I can conquer things, I can do it. And my goal really is that I hope you like the playlist. But ultimately, I hope it inspires you to create your own playlist. Maybe it will include songs that I have on mine, but I invite you to put songs on there that really mean something to you and inspire you and make you feel like anything is possible. Because that's a key component of manifesting and something I also talk about quite frequently. So get on my email list if you want to, get valuable information from me, stories and, things along the way, along my journey, because obviously I'm still on this journey as well. I am not done. I'm always on this journey too, of becoming the next best version of myself. And you will get the playlist. And if you have questions, feedback, topics you want me to cover, just email me at vision@bluemoonmanifestations.com or reply to any email that you get from me, and I will get it in that same inbox. And let me know if you like the playlist or your favorite song. You know, I love interacting with you guys. So that is what I have for you today. It is my being an email jail story and the lessons that I learned. And I will talk to you guys next week. Take care.